Alright, I'm happy to say that I finally have my Draken 3 finally complete. I was originally going to shoot this video in 4K, but it took 5 hours to render out. And when I made check before I uploaded it, turns out the section where I was actually going to show how the LEDs light up on the Draken 3 was way too dark. So here I am again recording it. This time I'm using my iPhone 6. And I'm recording at 1080p. So, with that said, as you can tell, I got both aircraft here out on my kitchen table. They're both scaled exact to each other, so I'm very happy I got that correct. I also have the little plastic models to show the major size comparisons. And the one thing I want to say that I like about high-tech aircraft here compared to White Knights is that if I test aircraft here, I can just lay it on the table and just let it sit. With White Knights aircraft, I have to make a little rig system like you see right here to actually support the aircraft from falling over. And that's because of this little tail fin right here, because if I just lay it on the table like this, it'll be basically resting like this all the time, and if I have it resting like this all the time, it'll put too much stress on the bottom tail fin and it could bust off. So with that said, like I said, it's done. All the textures are very beautiful on this aircraft. I also have this thing reaming with LEDs, which makes me really regret not doing the same thing on high-tech aircraft when I was building it. But with that said, I'm absolutely amazed with the textures on both aircraft. And of course, here's a high-tech aircraft for comparison. Though out of all the two that I built here, this one looks a lot more cleaner because this is my second build. But I do plan on rebuilding this, because do not hold me to this, but I believe he's going to be rebuilding high-tech aircraft with the Freya variant. So I'm thinking, so when he does come out with that, I'm going to be rebuilding this thing all over again. The only modification that I would like to see happen to this particular model is have it so I can have the wings be lopped off like somewhere like right around here or so. That way, so when it comes to storing this aircraft here, I can do the exact same thing with it that I do with White Knights. Make it so if I want to store this thing, I just pull the wing tips off, have a smaller mass to store. It'll be easier to transport too. But that's just my 2 cents on what I want to see done to this model. I can't really have the brake right here, because I gotta have this little section right here actually hot glued directly to this, because this whole piece right here acts as the support system to hold everything together. But that's just my 2 cents on the modifications I want to see done to this aircraft, if that was possible. But with that said, either way, if he does come out with the Freya variant of high-tech aircraft, I'm going to build it either way, with or without the winglet modifications. Speaking of winglet modifications, I might as well show you the ones that are on this aircraft here. So let me get this thing on my tripod. So, this is one of the things I absolutely love about this aircraft. Now let's say I'm going to my local anime convention, and whatnot. And all I gotta do to get this thing prepped to be taken somewhere is I just kind of pull this little pull tab I made out of clear tape, pull that little piece of clear tape off, and then just pop the wing off like so. And then as you can tell, I have a little connection point right here. This little connector here goes to the 2 little LEDs on the wingtips of this on the wings. This is the exact same thing on the other side of the aircraft. All I gotta do is I just gotta pop this off like so, and then just store it somewhere. And then let's say I'm at the convention on the convention floor, and I want to put the thing back together. I just do everything in reverse. I grab the female end, plug in the male end, listen for a click, and here's what I do to get the winglet in. This is the way I found that makes it easier for me to actually pop the wing in. I start from the front. And most of the pressure I actually do basically right. Basically, I just put my hand right here and I provide more front pressure than back pressure. That way, so the winglet will slide in more or less very easily. And then I just take some clear tape, about like an inch or so. Make a little pull tab. Basically squeeze right here like so. Make sure make this look as clean as it can, or as close as you can. Then just more or less middle the clear tape, and then boom, the wingtip is on. As far as I know, as far from what I can tell, the wingtip does not move ever once I do this. So I am very impressed with the amount of detail that was put into just this wingtip alone. With the way the wing actually slides in, it's like an RC aircraft. So yeah, this thing is fantastically built, very, very well. I cannot give enough praise to the guy that made this model. Again, I would love to be able to say his name, but I suck at pronouncing names, so please forgive me. And like I was saying in the build logs, this is going to be my beta build, because as you can tell, I have some inconsistencies. The major inconsistency you can see is right here. You got this big nasty gap, and this little piece is jetting up. While there's still a gap on here, but it more or less smooths out correctly. So basically, when it comes to the Mikomo variant, I'll be able to take what I learned when I was building this variant and make sure I build the Mikomo variant a lot more better. Especially considering I really want to get this area here more or less properly built, because there are some inconsistencies where you really can't see them on camera, but in person you can really see them. Like this right here. Like I said, this is my beta build, and even with these small little nitpicky inconsistencies, this thing is still a very beautiful aircraft. So I'm going to take about 2-3 weeks off from building stuff. I'll most likely have a separate video in the next few days of me building a little drone pod wingtips. But for right now, I want to take at least 2 or 3 days off before I build those, because those things are probably going to take about like a few days to build each, and whatnot. But overall, this aircraft is very nicely done. And oh yeah, I forgot to also mention, when I rebuild high-tech aircraft, I'm going to be using the more high-res textures, and I'm going to be placing LEDs throughout high-tech aircraft too. That way, so it'll more or less light up just like white nights. So with that said, I'm going to go into a dark place and get some lighting set up to where you can see this aircraft, to where it can be lit up just enough, but to where it won't drown out the LEDs. And most likely I'm going to be out in the garage for that, because it's currently daytime and the garage is the only real place I can actually go out to properly show the LEDs off on this aircraft. And of course, I really only need to do the same for high-tech, because the only LEDs in high-tech aircraft are just in the exhausts. This thing is more decked out than high-tech aircraft. And my cat decided to walk in. Patty! Patty, Patty, Patty! Oh, Patty! She's not that smart. As you can tell, the LEDs are basic, but as you can tell, the red ones are a lot dimmer than the white LED and the green LEDs in the back. That's because with the red LEDs, like I said, they require a lower voltage. So I have resistors laid throughout the aircraft to help with the voltage regulation. That way, so the LEDs don't basically die due to them being too much voltage. And I gotta have a little bit of sacrifice, and the sacrifice is dimmer LEDs. But like I said, this is my beta build. I know for a fact, like I keep saying, I want to build a Mikmo variant. I'm absolutely going to use white LEDs. And of course, I'm going to use green LEDs in the back for exhaust, or I might use blue. I don't know yet. I might go for purple. Purple LEDs can run off the same voltage that the other two run off of. I'm not going to use red because that just wouldn't work right. But yeah, overall, this thing was an absolute blast to build. All right, before I end out this video, I want to try and explain quickly the 3D model. Now, if you know what you're doing when it comes to building 3D papercraft models, go right for this build. It'll challenge you. But if you do not, but this is your first time actually building something like this, it could be pretty difficult. But with that said, when the link I'll give you a link below will be to this file right here. It'll be on 4Share. You open it up, you need Paprika 4. This file is not locked down or anything like that, so if you need to do any modifications, like move parts around to print everything the way you want, you're free to do so. If you want to scale it up more, if you want to scale it down more, you're free to do that. But I just want to quickly show what the way I have mine set up. Basically all the parts are all over the place, because as you can tell, this part right here is part of the nose cone, and then a little bit of this area right here. So these parts are all over the place. Basically the reason why the parts are all over the place is because this is the way I build certain sections out on certain times. But if I highlight everything, it goes directly to the aircraft. So yeah, if you need to move parts or whatnot, like if you want to just build this little section right here first, you can just highlight it and then just move it, and then just highlight everything else, push it off to the side somewhere, and then just move it back into the folder, into a little buildable section like this. And then let's say you actually get the parts you want plotted out. Here's one more thing I suggest you do before printing. Is you change the color of the fold lines. What you need to do is you need to go to select edit color. Just select that. Keep these two selected. Go to here. Hit this color right here. Hit OK. And then just basically highlight everything. Basically with this color set right here, other than probably like right here, basically with this color set is that when you print it out, it'll be just light enough to where you can actually see the lines to where you need to fold. But when you try to look at the aircraft from a distance, it will be pretty difficult to actually notice the lines. Oh yeah, one more thing. I'm in America, so I printed this out on letter paper. So if you want to change the actual paper type, you just go to File, Print in Paper Settings, and you go to Paper Size, and you can change it to whatever you need. Now if you're going to print this in A4, or you have A4 paper, this is what's going to happen. Not everything's going to scale properly. So what you'll need to do is you probably need to go in there and probably cut some of these sections up some more like this, and move them around that way so you can actually properly print this out on A4 or whatever paper size you have. But these are just my little last bit ideas or whatever to help you understand generally what you need to do. But then again, if you know what you're doing when it comes to paprika or building these little things, you're good without any you shouldn't have much problems. So with that said, I'm going to put this video to an end.